the exam 1 problem set number 5. So as you can see here, the question is, the directions basically is like, at Stats' community college, the counselors are interested in determining if a student's gender has an effect on the amount of time in appointments with the students. And then it's like a note that we will discuss this in a better way to run a test on this data at the end of this course. But for now, let's just use this as a tool we currently have. So below is the data. And when you click on the link, you get all of these numbers. And basically what you have to do is like you copy paste all these numbers into a GeoGebra spreadsheet. And you would, once you do that, you get all of it, like shows this, but you do have to like copy and paste it. And when you do that, you get your data. But basically, we are looking at these questions. And the first one is, are there any outliers in the data? Find any outliers for each gender in the spreadsheet using the 1.5 times IQR method discussed in our class. Make sure to demonstrate the procedure and explain how to identify the outliers. So in this, I like copy paste the questions so I can just easily look at them while I'm doing the problems. But for question 1, my answer was for females, you have to like put in your data because they're asking for each, see it says right here, for each gender. So you have to put in the data for each one in GeoGebra, and that's what I did. So the first one I did for females. For the females times for counseling appointment, the IQR is 10.5 because to get the IQR, you have to subtract Q3 from Q1, which would be 31 minus 20.5 to get 10.5. And as you can see right here, this is the data that you get once you put in the GeoGebra spreadsheet. And you can see here, Q1 is 20.5 and Q3 is 31. So to get your IQR, you get 10.5 by subtracting those numbers. Then after, you have to find the IQR, but after that, you need to, in order to get the outlier, you need to use the formula that they gave you on here, which is 1.5 times the IQR. So I did that. 10.5 times 1.5 is 15.75, and that should be your final outlier answer for just females. And then if you go further down, here would be for males. And for the males, as you can see in the data, the IQR is 6.5 because Q3 was 33.5 and Q1 was 27. So when you subtract those, you get a 6.5 as the IQR. And then you subtract multiply the 6.5 from 1.1, and you get 9.75 as the outlier for males. And then over here, non-binary would be 11 for the IQR, because, and then once you do that, you do Q3, which was 22, and Q1, which was 11, and you subtract those two to get the IQR, which is 11, and the outlier is 11 times 1.5, and that would be 16.5. Then we go further down to question 2. Question 2, as we look up here, was visualizing the data. Explain how to produce 3 stat box plots in GeoGebra. You may simply walk through these steps. So basically what I did, as you can see, I did a screenshots of the photos that I did when I put in the data just to make it a little easier. But so for step 1, you copy and paste the data given in the GeoGebra, as I was saying earlier. And then, so this is the one that we did. Okay, so and then you copy and paste the given data, and then you made sure that the numbers are highlighted, which means like you like made sure when you're copying and pasting it, you have to go to like the first bar, for example, which is this. You have to go to this first bar and then make sure it's at the multiple variable analysis. And then once you do that, it automatically, what you'll see here, it will automatically show the multiple variable analysis, and the data should appear there, and your data should look like this basically. But yeah, those are the steps. Pretty easy. Just copy paste it, make sure it's in the multiple variable analysis, which is that's what they're asking for, and then you should get these three things. And then for question 3, the question was, assessing the center, discuss the distribution of your StatBots plots. Compare and contrast them, including the center, typical value, and the spread of the data. So basically they want you to compare them and include the center, typical values, and spread for the data that you did. So what I did for question 3, and they're asking for each gender as well again, so you have to do it for each one. So for females, times for counseling appointment distribution, the center would be 24 because it is the median number of the data, and median is basically the center of all the numbers, basically the middle number. The typical value would be 25.48, and the spread is 38 because when you subtract the min from maths, 42 minus 4, you get 38. So then for males, the time for counseling appointment, the center would be 30. The typical value is 29.52, and the spread is 27. Lastly, for non-binary students, appointment times meeting with counselors, the center would be 14. The typical value would be 16.71, and the spread is 17. Now, lastly, the last question is making conclusions. What can the counselor conclude about the gender versus counselor appointment times? Make sure to use your analysis from step 1 through 3. So what I put was, obviously, I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but this is what I got from it. And my conclusion was based on the amount of time spent with the students and genders. The counselor can conclude about the gender versus counselor appointment times that for non-binary students, there are fewer who spend time with the counselor. For the male students, they spend the most time with the counselor, and female students spend the second most with the counselor. And that is all of the questions that I answered, and I added my images to the spread, to the dots, so that you can see the data as you're going through them, and that's all I have to do.